Hey, I'm Steph. I'm a motivator, creator, small business owner, and educator. I'm a lover of all things health, spirituality, inspiration, and business. These are just a few words to describe me, along with passion, grit, and resiliency. Regardless of what I'm up to, I am soul-driven to create a purpose-filled life and find the advantages in adversity, all while keeping a smile on my face.
Soul Driven with Steph is a podcast that will fill up your cup and leave you feeling empowered, inspired, and on fire as you listen to interviews and stories of other soul-driven and strong women that have overcome against all odds. This podcast was a calling on Steph's soul to serve, connect, and share stories of struggles and successes, all to create a community so that you know you're never alone. Grab a cup of coffee, get ready to learn, laugh, and leave with wisdom and strategies to connect to your soul and get back in the driver's seat of your life today. Here's Steph.
Welcome back to another episode of Soul Driven with Steph. I am very excited about our guest today. She is a friend through a business community that I've been a part of, and I've just loved learning from her over the years and am inspired by her journey. So please welcome to the podcast, Meghan Dunn Gordon.
Well, thanks for having me today, Stephanie. I'm excited to be here and chat with you and your listeners today.
Well, let's dive in right away. Tell us what brought you into entrepreneurship and more specifically, owning a dance studio.
Well, that's a great question. It goes a long way back to when I was a little kid. I was one of those kids that kind of always knew what I wanted to do when I grew up, but it's just morphed and changed a little bit. So as far back as I can remember, probably kindergarten, I wanted to be a teacher. And then as I grew and I loved dance, then I wanted to be a dance teacher. And then when I was in high school, I took a business class and I was like, what I really want to do is own a dance studio. So I went to Oklahoma City University and I studied dance management there. And while I was in college, I taught at a dance studio. And it just so happens the year that I graduated, she closed down her studio. And a dad bought the studio. And I thought, Meghan, this is so great. Someone is going to buy your dream for you and you're going to just get to run it. Well, Stephanie, that didn't quite go as planned as you can imagine. So I worked for this dad for 3 years. And then after our third recital, right after I had bought my house in Oklahoma, when none of my family lives here, he fired me. And then he tried to get my ballet teacher to buy the studio from him because he told me, like, there's no way you'll make it. You'll run it into the ground. So he refused to sell it to me. So then I found out that the space that he was renting was up for lease. And so I just rented the space that we were in and started my own business there. So it wasn't necessarily a traditional way of doing it. I remember me and my dad sitting outside waiting till 12:01 a.m. on July 1st so I could change all the locks and take possession of the building. But it's really worked out well for me. And we're going into our 18th year in business.
Wow. Oh my gosh. See, and I didn't even know that part of your story or journey. So that is, like you said, very non-traditional, which I think everyone kind of has their own experience of that, but way to really just know what you want, go after it, and not take no for an answer. Because when we allow people to tell us who we are and what we can do, then we're really missing out on all the opportunities that come from those challenges and growing alongside of them. So you've had your studio for 18 years. Congratulations on that, first of all, because that's a huge, huge obstacle of owning a business for, even a decade plus. And not only do you own the business, but you are also a business coach and you have become a certified coach through the company we are both part of, More Than Just Great Dancing, as well as doing your own business coaching. So tell us, what was your journey into becoming a coach? It sounds like you've always had a teacher inside of you. When did you discover that you wanted to teach business just as much as dance, maybe more?
Well, I've really enjoyed coaching, and it's something that I had never thought of doing before I was in More Than Just Great Dancing. And getting to do the certified coaching program really just opened up another passion for me. And it's something that I've always loved to do. I love teaching, and I love teaching in large groups of people. So coaching on the stage is really great for me. I also love working with teams and one-on-one and being able to share what I've learned throughout the last 18 years because I was 25 when I started my business. So I for sure didn't know what I didn't know then. And I've started investing in coaching when I was pretty young too. And so it's really great to be able to share that. I've really enjoyed working on culture and with teams and incorporating the Working Genius model that I learned into my coaching that I'm doing.
Yeah. So tell us more about Working Genius. You are a Working Genius facilitator. And what is it? And what led you down the path to becoming a coach in this specific area?
Well, after COVID, I was feeling like super burnt out, which I'm sure so many of your listeners can
Yes.
like relate to. It's just like change and change and change and new things and trying to reimagine your business. And I got to a point, we live in Oklahoma, so our restrictions weren't as strict or as long as so many other places. We were really blessed to have a lot more options here. And I could not figure out why on earth I was so tired and burnt out because it wasn't really working more and I wasn't really doing that much more. It was different, but not more. And I just could not figure out how to pull myself out of this slump. And then I've always followed Patrick Lencioni's podcast, and they were talking about a new model that they had been developed called the Working Genius. So, what the model is about is it talks about there are 6 kinds of work that we do inside of a business. And you need all 6 types, and they're all equally important, needed, and valued, which is actually my favorite part of the Working Genius. And when I got in there, I was like, oh, this is why I'm so tired because I was doing so much work in my working frustrations. And I wasn't getting
Mhm.
to do a lot of work in what my geniuses are. And I was pulling my whole team along to do things that were in their frustrations. And so my frustrations are enablement and tenacity. So it's helping and finishing. So I'm like, I don't want to do that in part of the work. I don't want to help you. I don't want to finish with you. I don't want to hold your hand. I don't want to pat you and say good job. Like that's just not who I am. What I found is I was just doing that all the time. So after I learned he was doing a facilitator group to do coaching for it, I knew I had to sign up and take that opportunity. So I was lucky I was in the second group of people who went through their facilitation program. I got to take not only with the leadership team at the table group, which is what Patrick Lencioni's business is, but also with Pat himself taught the training and he only taught the first couple of trainings. So it's super fun
Yeah,
to learn
cool.
from Pat. Is it okay if I give you like a quick overview for your audience of the model?
Please do. Yes, I would love that.
Great. So the Working Genius spells out widget. And we always want to start at the top of the widget with our work. So W stands for wonder. People who have the genius of wonder love to speculate about things and think about things. They're taking a view of what's around them and they're asking questions like, why is it this way? Why do we price the tuition this way? Why do we market this way? But people with wonder don't necessarily have the ideas to come up with. So now we need people with the genius of invention. And I like to say the people with invention are the people that when they say, oh, I have an idea, everybody in the room is like, great, more ideas from you. They are just naturally gifted at coming up with new ideas, solving problems, looking for things to solve, and finding the solutions. However, they're not always great at really looking into like what it takes for their idea to come to reality or thinking through the idea. So that's why we need people with the genius of discernment. And sometimes I like to say that discernment people are the no people. They're like, have you thought of that? Who's going to do that? How much money is it going to cost? What does it look like? Why do we need to do this? They're really looking through the idea and they're trying to figure out, is this something that is sustainable that they can do? So the inventor and the discerner are going to go back and forth until they actually have a whole idea. I'm sure none of your listeners can relate to having an idea that was half baked that they then tried to, roll out without thinking through it. So that's why we need discerners to really think through the issue. Now, once it's ready to go, we need the galvanizers, and they're kind of like the cheerleaders. They get everybody moving and push the idea forward and into action. They're like, come on, guys, this is going to be really great. This is how we're going to serve our clients better. This is how we're going to make our organization more efficient. And they're going to get the whole team rallied around the new idea or project or system that we're doing. And then we have the bottom half of work, which is where really the bulk of our work gets done, which is first enablement. So these are the people that just naturally love to help. And something I find with people who have the genius of enablement is they don't really think it's a genius. They might have been called the people who are nice. But as
Hmm.
someone who says it is their frustration, I can tell you it is for sure a genius because I don't want to help you. So they're really motivated by the people aspect and serving the teams and the people. And then we have tenacity. And these are the people who want to get their checklist, get it done, and see the project all the way through to the finish line. And I don't know about you, but I've done so many different models and different, like I've done the Enneagram and the Myers-Briggs. But what I really love about Working Genius is it's actually about how we're getting the work done. And
Hmm.
everyone's equally invaluable because I found in some of them, people are like, well, mine's better than yours because I'm nice or I'm energetic or I'm this or I'm that. And it becomes a contest. But in Working Genius, it's really about having the whole team work together in a more cohesive way.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I love the overview and I love the widget. Super easy to remember. And how does someone go about figuring out what their working genius is? Is there also a book that goes alongside that as well?
There's a book that goes alongside it. There are facilitators like myself, or you can purchase from a facilitator, or you can purchase on your own on their website. There's like a 20-minute assessment. It's $25, and it's going to give you an overview of what your geniuses and frustrations are, how they work, and what it looks like. And so that's a really great way to get started. They also have a podcast that goes through like the 6 types of working geniuses, and then they talk about everything related to the working genius. So I for sure have that on my podcast binge list every week.
Yes, I love it. Okay, so clearly this has helped you in your business with your team just overcome burnout, figure out some of those pain points, build, a really comprehensive team that's all working together. I'm also guessing this has helped you in every area of your life as a coach, as a mom, as a partner, to your spouse. Like, tell us some other examples of how you use the working genius in other areas of your life, even outside of your business.
Well, in my business, it's really been a game changer just to have a language around what we're doing. And the working genius really works best like if you're self-aware. Any personality test I take is like I'm a very extreme personality. So everyone I'm always like, yes, that is me 100%. But the more self-aware that you are, the easier it is to implement working genius. So what I learned is that on my team, all of my team members either have one or both of my geniuses as frustrations. So sometimes I need to remind them, hey, as a galvanizer, I actually need you to respond to me in some way. It doesn't even have to be an agreement. It just, I
Mhm.
need a response. And when there's silence, it just really like grinds my gears. And I've also learned that most of my team is enablement and tenacity or has at least one of those. And I hate to do those things. So I've learned that one, I'm in the way a lot of the time, and they would
Mm.
rather me just like get out of the way and go somewhere else. Or they've been able to say, Megan, did you want us to stop what we're doing so you can go back and invent new things? Or did you want us to finish the project that we already decided on? And most of the time, I'm like, I just wanted you to finish the project that we already decided on because I'm trying to use my genius where it's not wanted. And I also learned that what excites me is coming up with new ideas. So at the end of a big event, what I love to do is look at everything that went wrong and find ways to make it awesome next time. But all my team heard was, we didn't do a good enough job for you and you don't appreciate us because they're motivated by helping and finishing. So now I'm in timeout and I have to wait till Monday after an event to talk about my new ideas. And so just having a self awareness is really great. At home, if you're married or you have a roommate, you only maybe have 2 geniuses to 4 geniuses. So you're missing 2 geniuses in your home. So my husband is not into my personality test, but I can tell you that we both do not have tenacity and do not finish anything. I probably would say we don't, neither of us like to help. So I've just kind of noticed that these are things that like neither one of us actually want to do and get done and see the project all the way through. So I've just, diagnosed my husband as I think he's wonder and discernment. So he thinks about things and then he pokes holes in it. He thinks about things and he pokes holes in it, which drives me crazy. But neither one of us like to finish. So just kind of having like an awareness that like both of us are just kind of wired like that. Like we're not doing it to annoy one another. We're just built like this makes me take a little bit of a pause. And my son's still a little bit too old. There's a student version, a little bit too young, not too old, a little bit too young to take the student version. But seeing how he does in school and seeing how he just functions has really helped me see what he might be good at and try to encourage him to things that are in his genius. Like I think he's either wonder or discernment or invention and discernment. He's very creative and he likes to come up with stories and draw and think about things and ponder things around him and ask questions. And so just being able to see that not all of his geniuses might be school motivating is really good to see him for who he is and encourage him in ways that I think will help him grow as an adult.
Yeah, awesome. I love that. And I think what's so evident and what you're talking about is we don't need to be good at all the things. And by trying to do all the things and be good at all the things, we burn ourselves out or we get frustrated. We lose passion for our work because we're not working in our genius. So it's not a weakness necessarily. Like it's just an area that we shouldn't spend time and energy focusing on because someone else is so much better at it and can bring that to our team or our project or our home life, even if it's at home. Like if we know we're not good at projects, then we're going to just have to hire someone to do it for us because otherwise it's never going to get done. I'm
Mhm.
sure you've had a lot of just like aha moments of realizing, like, once you learn this system of, do you feel like it's freeing to be able to step back and be like, oh, that's not my genius, like pass on to someone else?
100%. And I think as entrepreneurs, as leaders, like we feel guilty delegating certain things to our team members because like we hate to do it. I'm like, oh, I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to like I don't want to delegate this because I hate doing this. Like at the dance studio, it's like doing inventory or sorting shirts and doing those like tasks that I'm like, I would rather double fist punch myself in the face than like have to do this type of work. And I didn't delegate it because I would feel bad. I'd be like, oh, I don't want to ask anyone to do this because it's such like a terrible job. But I have team members who love it. And they're like, but Megan, can you just tell us exactly how you want it done? Can you tell me exactly how you want the merchandise wall to look? Can you tell me exactly how you want me to box this up? Because I have people that want to do it. And to me, delegating freedom is a gift because I value freedom. People that have the genius of invention crave freedom to do things how they want. Well, most of my team that are doing that have the frustration of invention and they want me to say, this is how you do it. This is what winning looks like. This is what done looks like. Give me the step by step ABC 1, 2, 3. So I've had to discipline myself to do that so I can delegate them a project that they actually like to do. So I can delegate better because I know what my team enjoys doing and they do a way better job than I do because I don't like to do it anyways.
Yeah. Yes. I love this conversation. And I think it just gives you so much more energy back into what you're doing and the passion that you have around your business when you are mostly working in your area of genius. So tell us a little bit more about even just like your coaching that you do with other business owners, whether it's dance studio owners or maybe even outside of the industry. What does that look like? What are the areas of business that you really love coaching around or even building within your own business? Of course, the Working Genius is a piece of that, but what areas of business do you really enjoy coaching around?
I think one of the things that I love coaching about Working Genius specifically is I love to work with teams. I'm also an extroverted extrovert. So I really gain energy from working with groups of people. And so one of the things that I've done over 60 Working Genius team trainings. I've come back and done second trainings for teams based on what they need in their business, how they can grow their team, how they can incorporate it, what changes or like zhuzhes they can make in their business. So I would say I do probably 80% of my coaching in Working Genius just because I love it so much. And I find the impact that it makes on teams is so big. And I can come back and talk to them about how they've used it, what's working, what's not working. I love coaching new businesses or people who are new to coaching. Like maybe you've had your business for a long time, but you've had a hobby business. And
Mhm.
I love helping people figure out like how you can look at your pricing and your packaging, how you can look at your marketing, how you can bring systems and tools into your business to make it stronger and better and build on what you already have. And I love working, especially with young women entrepreneurs who are just getting started and are excited. Coaching people new to business is really fun for me. I like that startup type of feel. There's lots of ideas and invention that go into that. I'm for sure use my geniuses in coaching. So I love to problem solve for people, look at it from the outside and see maybe what's missing and what they could do differently. And I love cheering people on. What I love most about coaching is I don't have to work in my frustrations very often because I don't have to go to their studio and do the work for them or go into their business and do the work for them. I get to give them the ideas and then help them create something that they can go and implement themselves.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I didn't know this about you. Well, I knew that you are a huge fan of Disney, but I didn't know that you also help people plan Disney vacations. So that's another kind of extension of you as a business. Tell us more about that. What led to this love of Disney and then ultimately helping people plan their vacations?
Right, Stephanie. Once we start with the businesses, if we love it, we're like, I should do this as a business. I tell myself sometimes, like, Megan, just because you're good at it doesn't mean you need another business to get started. So it started, well, let me take you back to my Disney journey. I'm originally from South Florida, and when I was a little girl, we had annual passes going up to Disney, and we would take our pop-up camper and we would camp in the campgrounds. My parents would come, my grandparents lived by us. We would go with my grandparents often. I also got to bring friends with me to Disney and experience the magic of Disney. And I for sure loved going to Disney until I was well into my teen years. And then I kind of took a break from Disney until I became a mom. And as soon as I became a mom, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to take Hudson to Disney to see what it's like. You're like, oh, Megan, he's not going to remember it. I'm like, but I will, I'll remember it. So I took my son on his first trip when he was 6 months old. And I just love all the pictures. He's 9 now. He loves looking at all the pictures from when he was little. And we've gone on over 25 trips since he was born. So last year, my niece is 2, and we decided to take a family trip to Disney. One of my friends is like, why don't you just become a Disney planner? Like, you're planning for people anyways. So I joined up with one of my dance mom clients in her agency, and I started planning Disney trips for families. And something that I love about it is creating magic for families and creating memories.
That's so amazing. I love it. I can't wait to bring my baby to Disney and go with, their cousins. And I think it is, like you said, all about the memories that you are creating at any age. Because, yeah, even if they're young, then it's for you too. So awesome. Well, you have multiple businesses. You're also a mom, you're a wife, you have your own passions and things that you love doing. I know that personal and professional development is huge for you, as is for most entrepreneurs. We love learning, we love growing. Tell us what you do to grow personally and professionally.
That's a great question. There's so much stuff out there. It's so hard to like choose all of the things to do. Some of the things, I have some favorite podcasts that I listen to. I love to binge. Both Patrick Lencioni's podcasts are always like on the top of my list. I listen to the Darren Daily. I like to listen to podcasts when I'm getting ready in the morning. It's like a good way to like rein in my
Yes.
undiagnosed ADHD and like focus on doing my hair and getting my makeup done and getting out of the door while staying like focused and on time, because timeliness and me are not friends. Um, and then I'm always looking for like books that go with whatever I'm working on in the studio. So I've been working with my accountability group on Gino Wickman's traction book on the
Love
EOS
that book. Yes.
so good.
So
Yeah,
good.
I think the biggest thing that I found about personal development is I think sometimes we think that whatever we take in, we have to like implement just as it's handed to us. But it's really like taking what is there and figuring out how you can mold that into your business and what you're doing. And the other
Mhm.
challenge is to not like learn new things and then try to like halfway implement them all the time.
Mhm.
I was really bad at doing that. And I try to use a little bit like of self-control, because if not, your team or your clients are just like, are we actually doing this? Or is this just like your flavor of the day that you want to try? So I think it's really reining in the personal development to what do you need now? How do you put it into what you're already doing to make what you're doing better, instead of just coming in every time and saying, like, let's rip it all apart and start something new. Let's rip it all apart and start something new next week. And really being able to like dig in and grow the areas that need growth and just fine tune the areas that are working. Like, we don't need to rip everything apart every time we get a new idea from a podcast or a training or from a learning group. My other advice on personal development for sure would be get an accountability group, people who are working on the same things as you, people who will hold you accountable and not let you get away with like, well, I kind of did this and I kind of did that. And
Mm-hmm.
like get you some friends that are going to be like, don't show up without your stuff done next week. Those are the kind of friends that you need in business.
Yeah.
And find a group, whether it's something like your sister circle, the local chamber, a national coaching group, that find where your people are, because it's the people. You need people in this journey or you're going to be
Mm-hmm.
lonely, bored, and burned out. So find where your people are and then dig into that, because if not, we're just bouncing all over the place with no support system, no people who are going to hold you in line and accountable for moving forward what you said. And we need people. I know it's very like tempting these days to not meet with people in person and to not have real friendships, but I think that deep down inside we need people and human connection, and people who will love us where we're at when we're a hot mess, but will also hold us accountable when we could be doing better or not following through on what we said we were going to do. Finding those really true friends that will keep you in line.
Yeah, so many good options there. And we can, invest large amounts of money into some of these, and some of these are totally free. And I think it's great to have a variety of all of those things for whatever you need in the season that you're in, whether it's the free podcasts or the books from the library, or maybe you are finally ready to invest in paying for coaching or accountability or community. Maybe you don't need to pay for your accountability. You just find, like you said, those growth friends that want to be held accountable as well, and you get to be that for each other. So there's really no excuse in this day and age, right? With so much content and resources. I mean, it is unlimited and overwhelming how much free content is out there. So there's really no excuse to not be always learning and growing. And sometimes, like you said, we almost have to step back and say, okay, like what do I actually need to implement before I go read another book, before I go listen to another podcast? How am I actually taking in the information, filtering it through what I need, how I'm going to implement, and then taking the action on it? Because sometimes I think I know for me, I have to be aware because I'm always loving learning, but like if I'm not implementing anything or I'm just taking in more and more information, it's not actually helping me. So I'm curious, like, what are some maybe daily habits or systems that you have in place for implementing some of these maybe new things that you're learning, or the personal professional growth that you have? Even, let's say, coming back from an event or a conference, like, how do you actually integrate and implement?
Well, I have a new favorite tool, my Remarkable, that I take
Mm.
all of my notes in now. It's like a digital notebook that you write on. And so I love that, because for me, what happens is I write it in a notebook and I put it on my desk, and then I'm at the office and I was like, oh, I have this thing in the notebook. And then by the time I get home, I forgot about the thing in
Mm.
the notebook. So I love my Remarkable because it always comes with me to grab a quick idea or quick, refresh on there. I'm not a great structure person, and I've really had to find like where in my day can I structure things, because I do still teach at my dance studio. And so I have like my full-time dance studio owner job, my part-time dance teacher job, and then I'm still, Megan the human also. And I like to do stuff with my kid. I like to do things with my friends or my husband. So I find that I do like my best work between 10 and 2. So I try to
Mm.
schedule my work in those like pockets, and I started using the EOS system. So I love on my dashboard, I put like what I committed to doing for the week. And then I have a like what's important now that we need to like implement on the team. And then I call it my holding board. It's not part of EOS, it's my own special place that I put all of my ideas. And a lot of them die there
Mm,
because they weren't actually good. Or when I get to them, I'm like, didn't really want to do that later. So I find having a place that I can put my ideas is helpful. And since we've implemented a team meeting, it helps me to stay on track because I am very like, whoosh, squirrel over there and whoosh, squirrel over there. So I've had to really discipline myself a little bit to like set times. And then like on Wednesdays, I try not to set any meetings so that I know every Wednesday I have a really like big chunk of time that I can
mm,
dig into a big project. I work really well pulling out content or pulling out a project in like a longer focused time. Like I'll take a break in there, but like if I'm doing
yeah.
slides for a presentation, I pretty much build my whole presentation in one sit down and
Hmm.
then edit it later. If I'm
Yep.
building out a project for the studio, I pretty much build out the bulk of it in one sit down and then edit it later. I just work better in those big chunks of time. So when I don't get them, then I'm like, I don't know where I'm going to do this because doing it in
Yeah.
little pieces all the time takes me a really long time to like refocus and get back in the zone. So I try to save my Wednesdays for that. Mondays, I like to try to not have meetings because I teach in the evening. And then on
Hmm.
the weekends, I'm in the classroom. And on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I have calls already. So I really try to like look at what I have set in my schedule and figure out where I can get the big work done within what's already on the calendar.
Yeah, okay, I love this. And we have so many similarities in how we're probably very close in Working Genius. I have to go back and have a reminder of what mine is, but we're probably very similar. And I'm the same way. Like if I have a big project that I need to tackle, I almost need a whole day, if not at least a half a day, 4 to 5 hour chunk of time that I know I'm not going to be rushed into something else. Yes, I'll take breaks throughout that time. But it's really important for me to have that every week on at least one day of the week. And then, like you said, fitting in other things like having those designated days for maybe meetings or teaching or, whatever it is. I love the holding board idea. I kind of do that with my note cards, but I think just like having an actual place, whether it's on my computer, an actual board of note card ideas, I think would be very helpful. Because yeah, it's easy to get shiny object syndrome as an entrepreneur, as a creative, inventive person, but we can't take on everything all at once. So I love those. Some great tips there. I'm curious, what is next for you? Life, business, what are you excited about?
Ooh, that's a great question. Well, I'm hoping to keep doing more coaching. I really like that. I think in my next season of life, which I don't think is next year, but I would like to get more into spending my time into coaching, into travel planning, and into running the business, and probably less into the teaching side as I go into my mid 40s. I would like to, look at what my business evolves into. And I find that then there's opportunity for other people to do what they were meant to do in the prime of their teaching, their dancing career. So I'd like to do that. I have a new goal of I want to be able to spend the whole July somewhere fun, like get an Airbnb and, work remote for a month so I can work and do fun things with my son and hang out. So that's one of my probably not next year goals, but like down the road goal is to just really carve out that time. He's going into the fourth grade and he's 9. So we're halfway through the summers and the time that I get to spend with him.
Yeah.
And it goes by fast. And I want to create the memories and the events that we can do while we still have the option to do them. And that's a great thing about being an entrepreneur. You can take your work on the road with you to someplace more
Mhm.
fun and exciting. So I think those are my next steps, is to really just dig more into the coaching and some of the side things that I like to do and shift those to being some of my main things.
I love it. Awesome. Well, I'm very excited for you. One of my favorite questions to ask is, what are you most proud of about yourself?
I am probably most proud of creating a business that's still standing. I for sure had a lot of haters and doubters, and the dad that owns the dance studio, like, you can be sure I will be inviting him to my 25th anniversary to be like, see, I'm still here. I think it's just having the grit and the perseverance to like go after what you want. And I think that one of the things about being a young entrepreneur is, one,
Mhm.
I didn't know any better. Two, I had no
Yeah.
responsibilities to anybody else. Like, I was young, I wasn't married, I didn't have kids. Like, all of my choices only affected me. And I mean, I worked two jobs and did all the things, the entrepreneur stories. And I'm really proud that I've built something that employs other people's full-time careers. I ran into someone in our industry and they said, "Wait, you have full-time people with benefits at your dance studio?" And they're in the dance industry. And so being able to have a business that can provide full-time income to other people in our industry is just really important to me as well. So those are the things that I'm probably the most proud of on a business standpoint. On a personal standpoint, I'm proud to be a mom and raise a kid who hopefully will not live in my basement when he is 30. That he's growing and doing his own things. And it's challenging to see your kids for who they are. And I'm proud of myself for really trying to see him for who he is and what's important to him, and not try to make him what I think he should be or
Mhm.
do.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yes. Well, I'm super proud of you too. And you have just been an example to me and so many other people in the industry, outside of the industry. I think starting a business at such a young age, because I did that also, like it's just a whole nother level of growing up with your business, like, and being able to really stick it out and see it through is huge, because you really do have a lot of responsibility forced on you at a very young age. And at the same time, you're trying to prove yourself too. And you had a specific person you were trying to prove yourself to. So I can imagine that was frustrating, but also motivating you to continue to keep going, and probably still to this day.
Well, it's fun to not have, the responsibilities. Like, oh my gosh, I can imagine running the business I run now when I was like 25. I was such a hot mess express.
Mhm.
I have three dance grandbabies dancing right now. And one of the moms said, like, "Oh, Megan, I'm just so glad you put up with us for so many years. And we're so happy that we're back." And I was like, "Oh, I'm so happy that you brought your kid to me when I was a hot mess 25-year-old, like trying to figure my life out." So I'm so
Yeah.
thankful for the people who invested in me and saw the things that were good and not just the mess that I was on the inside at 25.
I can appreciate that as well, for the clients that stuck it out with me and believed in me when I'm like, I had no reason to be running the business, like as I was. But I think it is some of that like young, call it it's naiveness, but you need it in order to do the thing. Because if we knew what we were signing up for, we would never do it, right?
Never, never.
So tell us, my final question is, what drives your soul today? What do you get up for each morning?
Um, uh, really being able to provide a life that is good for my kid is really what drives me today. Just to be able to provide for him and show him that there's lots of options out there. He can do what he wants to do, he can be what he wants to be. I also remind him that, well, you can do that, but it's a lot of work. So you have to actually want to do the work. But providing for my kid and providing for opportunities for kids at the studio is really what drives me, and investing in the next generation that's coming up.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking this time, sharing your story, your wisdom, your passions with us, Megan. If we want to continue to learn more about you or just follow your journey, where can we find you?
Perfect. Well, the easiest way to find me is on my website. It's meghandunnGordon.com, and I house all of my businesses and my social media on there. So if you pop over there, you can schedule a call or check in or see what I'm up to.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. And until next time, keep following what drives your soul. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Soul Driven with Steph. If If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it out with someone else who needs to hear this message. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so that you know when new episodes drop. And until next time, be sure to take care of your mind, your body, and your soul.